We've just had another text in from Amar from Ilford. He said, do you know that in this day and age, if you marry a Muslim, you have to convert, there is no compromise? So I think that's bringing up the whole forced conversion, that's what makes people feel a bit uncomfortable, because they know that sometimes there's more to conversion than just, someone's own free will wanting to believe in a different religion. There's something else behind it.
Sure, I think it's undeniable that out there are plenty of cases of great unhappiness having been caused by forced conversion.
Yeah.
That's not something that we can get away from. And so the sadness of a family who are losing a family member is a cause for regret and for concern. And the loss of future relationships as well, I guess. Is that where the forced conversion aspect is coming into it? Is the force a new dimension in this conversion dialogue that we're having then?
I think so. It's undue pressure saying, well, we're not going to marry you unless you convert. And it's kind of it's blackmailing someone, saying if you don't do this, then you're going to lose out. Or
So here's a thought. We're having a reasonable conversation, right? And we're wanting to use reason. If that scenario were to be presented, why would a person still enter into a marriage? Why is their reasoning faculty saying to them, hang on a minute, I'm being asked to marry somebody else, but the condition is being made that I must convert. Now, doesn't reason stand up and say, hang on, there's an alarm bell here? Why does that happen?
I think in that sort of situation, if the person's making a choice either way, they've probably decided for themselves that on the balance of it, they probably more want to be with that person than stick to their religion.
Okay.
But they've still decided, right? So it seems reasonable that they've made a choice, but I want to point out that I think there's an issue here. The options, the person's limited in the options they can choose from already, right? If the choice is between marrying someone and converting, and not marrying them and not converting, they're already restricted. They can't do what they want, even though it might seem like they have a choice.
Okay.
So maybe that's a part of it, I think.
All right, and again, that vulnerability aspect, I think, comes into it probably, because a person who is vulnerable is possibly going to more likely find themselves in that situation where they're already making the choice, and so the lesser of the two choices, okay, well, conversion's all right as well, because they've already made a choice.
Definitely, because it'd probably make their life a lot easier. And I was recently watching a documentary about Hindus in Pakistan and Bangladesh, and there used to be, I think 25% of Pakistanis were Hindus.
That's right.
And now the number's down to 2% because of forced conversions. And this documentary did say that there's a pressure from employers, there's pressure from the community that they live in. I mean, when they go to eat in restaurants, they're treated badly, or if they're waiting staff, they're treated badly too. So there is something that's kind of, forcing them to convert, because if they did convert to Islam, they'd have an easier life, and that's why so many Hindus are converting to Islam in Pakistan and Bangladesh, because of that. So it's not, free choice doesn't come into it. They have to survive.
Well, just a quick reminder, this is a reasonable conversation on Nusound Radio 92 FM. But please, if you'd like to participate, bear in mind, we've now got the phone-in line open as well. And the number for that is 0208 472 9292. And if you want to text us, 07961 387787, or email us on info@newsoundradio.com. We're having a reasonable conversation on conversion.
So, I mean, I think everything we've spoken about so far has been hinting at something. And I think the thing it's been hinting at is conversion seems to fundamentally be about thinking you're more right than someone else.
Yeah.
And not giving the person the freedom to think for themselves, really. You think that you're more right, and therefore you're doing them a favour by helping them share your perspective, but in that sense you're not respecting their own perspective.
No, it kind of raises a notion of intolerance and supremacy, that we're better than you. And there's also lots of language that's being used to that effect as well, saying, you worship the devil, you're non-believers, you're going to go to hell if you don't follow our path, because our path is right and your path is wrong. So there's lots of different factors that are thrown up.
Right, so the aspect of manipulation is something that offends the human spirit. The notion that your free choice, your freedom to think and freedom to choose your own path is manipulated by people deliberately, because they've already assumed that they have a superior position to yourself. So that supremacist agenda is what triggers off that feeling of, there's something not pleasant about this process.
Definitely, because if you're saying to someone, I'm right, you're wrong, if you don't change to my thinking, you're going to burn in hell, then obviously you're going to have negative sentiments about it straight away, because where's the tolerance in that and acceptance of other people's beliefs and faiths?
Yeah, conversion doesn't seem to fit in with equal rights. And when I say conversion, I mean someone else converting someone, as opposed to you converting to a different religion through your own free choice. And again, it's difficult to decide what the difference is and where the dividing line is, but I think where someone goes out to convert someone, they're not respecting that other person's, freedom to choose.
Freedom to choose. Well, there is an interesting aspect to this conversion discussion, and that is, if your belief and position is that conversion's a good thing, then is converting from your religion to another religion a good thing? Or is it a one-way streak only, that you convert into one particular group and that's it, you're not allowed to move from that group? Is that a good thing?
Not at all. Well, we've got Bharat on the phone.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, panel.
Bharatji, good afternoon and welcome, and thanks very much for phoning in.
A wonderful discussion for this very interesting mixture of the demographic area we are living in. So congratulations to Nusound Radio to discuss this topic boldly.
Oh, thank you. And
my take on all the points you guys made. I think Prerna is the one which caught my attention, that statistically it's true that a lot of the Islamic countries which you mentioned, where Hindus are allegedly persecuted, but you can't disprove statistics, and she's absolutely right in saying that the official Hindus either immigrate to more comfortable areas, those who don't want to convert, and those who have to be converted because of the sheer survival. And that has been happening throughout the history since countries in Europe and India were invaded by the Central Asian and the force of Islam.
You're absolutely right on that, Bharatji. In fact, I mentioned to somebody on my way in that we were going to have a reasonable conversation about conversion, and he brought up the point that once upon a time, the philosophies of Hinduism, they spread from the Middle East right the way across to the Far East,
Correct.
And that was achieved without any conversion.
And also don't forget that Genghis Khan, he invaded the whole of Europe. He came to the shores of Danube, and the Europeans were so frightened. And in fact, last week I was in Cadiz in Sevilla, where, of course, the Moors ruled that part of Europe for more than 300 years.
Well, this is a competition that's been played out on the Spanish turf for many, many centuries.
Correct. And you see the recent 90s war in Yugoslavia, where we all seen the pictures of Sarajevo. And I think what we, in the context of living in the democratic, first democracy in the world, as i.e. UK, that we got to watch our local democracy as a local government, and how this idea that one religion seems to flex its muscle always in the media. A lot of that is negative, but although factful, tries to impose their belief in the if you like in the democratic voters of this country, and especially in this particular respect, you can say Newham, Tower Hamlets, Bolton, any such area. And I think that is my particular point. I think.
So, Bharatji, can I just ask you, just quickly before you move on that point?
Sure.
We touched on the point about supremacy, about one group saying that we're superior to another group, right?
Yeah.
If you go back to a playground, even children have gangs, don't they, right? Even in a playground, you can say one gang saying, we're better than you are, and if you want to be part of my gang, this is what you've got to do,
Yeah.
right? Is there no difference? And are we saying that even in adult, mature societies like... well, it's questionable that the UK is the first democracy, but that's a debate for a different day.
Definitely.
But are we saying that it's the notion of one group saying that they're superior to another group, which is contrary to democracy and to human rights?
Absolutely, it is contrary. I mean, as much as you might want to highlight the point of this particular terrorist. He came from Iraq, and he actually used a human rights law, saying that his human right is violated because he's got a wife and a child in his country. Although, because of his particular belief, or people like that in the UK, who want a certain kind of fundamentalism, perpetrated through their actions and through their wider religion in this country, think that their sort of belief and entwined into the democracy is better. Example, some kind of talk about introducing Sharia law in this country.
I think there already is Sharia law in this country for family courts. There is Sharia law already here.
And there was one other documentary on that, and it was about the forced marriages, and how children aging as girls, say 13, 14, were taken to these countries, to marry someone more than 20 years older than them. But coming back to the local demographics, we ought to be careful to make sure that each religion, each sort of aspect, whether you are Ahmadis or you are Zoroastrians or you are Sikhs, Hindus, Christians, Catholics, what have you, are not only living in harmony, which we do, but a particular group does not, keep crying like a spoiled child and say that we want this, we want this space of religious studies. We want to do this. We want to wear burqas. We don't want to wear burqas. These things like that.
Yeah.
The effect of the immigrants, especially in this country, how it actually impacts on the, if you like, shall I say, the indigenous population of this country. I say turn the clock back to 50 years and maybe imagine a scene in Ilford, for example.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm talking about. And I think some of that is contributed widely because people are converting, and people are converting because they don't have any choice. And Prerna put it very succinctly, where she said that if you wanted to marry someone, and then till that time love was on the air, and suddenly the cloud nine goes, and suddenly you say, well, now that you love me, now that you like me as a person, all you got to do is to convert to my religion to marry me. And of course, each partner has got a very difficult choice.
Well, Balaji, that brings us back onto the point that was raised earlier by, I think, Prerna when she talked about manipulation and external motives and ulterior agendas.
And let me also say that I think I'm proud to say that Hinduism doesn't believe in conversion. So at least I suppose that being one of the oldest religion, it teaches the world that you have to live in harmony, you have to be all-inclusive, you have to love everybody, and you don't have to fear anybody, because safety in numbers doesn't necessarily produce a good religion.
Well, this is a very
case and have a good debate. Well done.
No,
thank you very much,
Bharati.
Bharati. Thank you for your comments.
This is actually a very current debate. Is it actually possible on a global platform and even on a local platform for communities to live together whilst one community is eyeing the other community as a potential target?
Well, on that note, I think we'll take a short commercial break, have a think about it. If you've got any text messages, the studio number, the text line's 07961 387 787, and our studio number 0208 472 9292. You're tuned into a reasonable conversation on Nusound Radio 92 FM, and the topic of the day is conversion. I think we've got Ravi on the phone line from Ilford. Hello, Ravi.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Hi, Ravi. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Hello?
Hiya.
Oh, yes. Basically, like I say, in the Hindu faith, Hinduism is a pluralistic faith. So basically, it recognizes many different paths that people can take, because it's a personal choice, because we're not all born robots. So each person has to find internally what suits them. So if a person wants to convert because they realize they've changed and it needs to take a new direction, that's their fair choice. Hinduism recognizes that.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
If it is their individual choice and they know what they're doing and making a well-informed decision without being vulnerable or susceptible from outside influences.
Ravi, there was a statement that you made there, which is quite commonly repeated, and that's that Hinduism recognises that all paths are sort of valid. I'm not quite sure whether that has scriptural integrity, though. If you can imagine one person sitting on the sides of the bank of a river, just quietly meditating on a rock and entering a very tranquil state of mind and connecting with his form of divinity, that's one path, isn't it, right? But if somebody else rides up behind him with a sword by his side and says, hang on a minute, what you're doing is fundamentally against what my belief system is, and either you follow my belief system or I have the right, my belief system says I can decapitate you here and now. And that's also, from their perspective, a path. And I don't think anywhere does Hinduism actually accept that all paths are equally valid. This is something that's been, I think, imposed upon Hinduism recently.